Welcome to Aurora Connects Season 2. This is episode 15 for Friday, November 20th, 2020, Telltale Hearts. I am Aurora Theater Associate Artistic Director Dawn Monique Williams, and as always, I am joined today by Artistic Director Josh Costello. Hey, Josh.
Hey, Dawn, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad it's Friday.
Yeah. Ready for a
How's
break?
it going with you? I am ready for a break. What about you, Josh?
I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in there.
Great. Well, you know, I like to play a game with our quotes. I go on a mission. So this week's quote is "How to Rhyme" is a verse from, not even a verse, a lyric from "How to Rhyme in the Cypher" from Idris Goodwin's "Can I Kick It" mixtape. The cipher is infinite enough to stretch. He goes on and on and on, but I'm not going to because I don't have Idris's cadence. But Idris is a playwright, performer, hip hop theater maker, and he calls himself a breakbeat poet and playwright. So I thought it was very apropos today, in honor of our guest, to talk about how the cipher might be infinite enough to stretch.
I love that.
So friends watching at home, you know, we love your comments. We love your questions, following us along on Facebook or YouTube. We'll have the folks here on the show ready to answer your questions. Also, remember to click like and subscribe. And this is available in an audio podcast format wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to hit us up with questions, comments, concerns after the show or during the show, you can reach us at connects@auroratheater.org. That's connects@auroratheater.org.
Yeah, and we do love when people comment, so please get on that. You'll see that Amanda has started scrolling our donors for our fall fundraising campaign, our Looking Forward campaign. We're trying to raise $100,000 to help Aurora get through this very, very difficult time. We're well on our way. People have been very generous, and we hope that you will join all these wonderful people and help Aurora. In this time, we could really use it. AuroraTheater.org. There's a donations button at the top right, and you can watch that little bar go up on the screen if you go and give right now. It would mean a lot to us. Also, another way that you can support Aurora right now is by becoming an Aurora Theater Company member. Memberships are on sale. They're good for this whole season through July 2021. They'll get you access to all of our programming that we're doing this year, including The Flats, our audio drama by Cleavon Smith, Lauren Gunderson, and Jonathan Spector that dropped late last month and early this month. The Flats is in 3 episodes. You get all 3 episodes with the cost of your membership. Single tickets are also available for $20. But I'm so proud that we were able to put together an original audio drama in this time. It's a story set in Berkeley. And it's quirky and smart and funny and weird, and I love it. And I hope you'll check it out and check out all that you get with your membership program at auroratheater.org.
Great, thank you, Josh. Well, today we are joined with our friends from Bay Area Theatre Cypher, along with Carlos Aguirre, the artist that created Telltale Hearts, which you'll remember was in our cabaret slot last year. And then we had a return engagement in February. And so later this month, on the 28th, for one night only, live streamed, one night only, we will have the final iteration of Telltale Hearts coming at you virtually. So if you are already a member, that is included in your membership. If you're not a member and you just want to check out Telltale Hearts, single tickets are available. You can find all that information through auroratheater.org. or memberships.auroratheater.org, and that'll get you all the links you need. But Josh, our friends have joined us here on the screen, so why don't you introduce our guests?
Yeah, welcome everybody. It's so great to see you all. I'm such a big fan of all your work. So let's see, we have here Alicia Piemme Nelson, who is a performer around the Bay Area theater community. You've seen her at TheaterWorks, at Town Hall, Cutting Ball, Bay Area Children's Theater. She's done some clowning and lots of musicals. We were just talking before the show started about how we both went to Boston University for our theater training. Alicia, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
And we have Carlos Aguirre, also known as Infinite. And you have seen him on stage at the Magic, at Cal Shakes, Campo Santo, and of course with Thelonious. Carlos, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here. What's up, Josh? How you doing?
Good to see you. Carlos and I go way back from, Carlos used to teach at Marin Theater Company, and lots of great stuff. And then we have Phil Wong. You have seen him perform at Cal Shakes with Shotgun, with Cutting Ball, Killing My Lobster. Phil, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Was that your like excited face? What face was that?
Yeah, no, that's my general catch-all face for excitement.
All right. Thank you. I'm happy to see it. And finally, last but not least, we have Dan Wolf. You know him from work with the Shotgun Players, Campo Santo. We did a show together at Marin Theater Company back in the day that toured around to elementary schools. That was awesome. Dan, also with Felonious, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Josh. What's up, Don?
Hey, y'all. So I'm gonna just jump right in and ask, what is the Bay Area Theatre Cypher? And friends, you might have to also just tell us what a cipher is to get us started. So yeah, I'm happy to have anybody jump in.
Thanks,
All right, Dan.
We both went to
Everyone deferred to everyone else. You go.
Dan. Well, Dan, I can kind of kick it off. You describe the cipher as like a circle of energy, and I really like that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess a cipher. That's what a cipher is, right? It's a space where folks are freestyling, it's passing energy, passing ideas back and forth through rhyme, through music, through beatboxing. So, being that we all come from the theater world, the idea of kind of disrupting what was happening in the theater world with the energy of a cipher was really and has always been interesting to me as an artist. And Phil just spit this verse on the Cal Shakes stage and just inspired this whole thing. And we feel blessed that folks like Alicia and like Carlos and so many others have like dove in full force.
Yeah, and there was video of that. Of you did like a little selfie video of you doing it in your Cal Shakes costume, right?
Yeah, I was doing Good Person of Szechuan, Bertolt Brecht, and that was my first time ever on the Cal Shake stage. I had seen them. I think I've been going to Cal Shake since I was like a kid, and I felt like this kind of sense of accomplishment, this sense that I had kind of worked my way up, and that kind of fueled this idea that I was like, I feel fly, I look fly, I want to like make a rap video about this. And then Dan was, he commented on it, and I was like, kind of was like a joke. I was like, when this is Bay Area Theatre Cypher happening, and he was like, hit me up, it's gonna happen. And then it did. and here we are with all our friends.
So the Bay Area Theatre Cypher is a collective of folks who sit at the intersection of being theater artists and hip hop heads. Yeah, am I making that okay?
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping that's kind of the impulse that it started from, and how can the cipher support theatrical storytelling is really the question that we're starting to ask, or we were asking before the whole disruption and the whole quarantine, as I like to say, and I mean, we make videos. We did the live stage show, like a mixtape on the stage with you all that we're going to do on the 28th. And yeah, we're trying to think like, can we do a whole night of a full length one story, told this way? And what is our aesthetic and who is the core crew? I mean, we're asking those big questions that kind of a nascent, very organic ensemble asks of itself.
I think a lot of, sorry, what was that, Phil?
It's just like, that was so well said.
Yeah. It's like he knows what he's talking about.
Guy who's been writing grants for like 6 months.
So I think a lot of the people watching this are pretty familiar with theater, and there may be some who are less familiar with just hip hop in general. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about hip hop and what is the definition of hip hop, and why? What does theater have to learn from hip hop?
It's a
Start with the big ones. I just want to get right in there. Alicia, what do you got? What's hip hop?
Why are you
is hip hop a thing?
I'm just here. Oh man. Well, I am like the most baby hip hop of the group. So I don't know if I'm the person to describe hip hop, but I do. I recognize hip hop as a genre of artistic expression that uses rhythm, and was born basically out of the need to reconcile with the world that we're living in. And I think that because of that, it can be a very emotional kind of music, right? It's a very raw and powerful kind of music. And I think that that's kind of where it and theater can meet each other, right? The idea is that theater is, we put on stage the human condition. And I think theater and hip hop both do, in very different ways, help people get through or understand what is happening in the world around them, and put a voice to things that aren't necessarily always given a voice.
Thank you.
Dan, do we have that? Do we have that air horn?
Oh, I have so many things.
Dan's favorite sound cue.
And so Carlos, and you've been releasing music. Can you talk a little bit about what you do as a performer of music?
Sure. Just to piggyback on top of what Alicia said, this idea of hip hop as a culture is really how you can sort of think of it, so that you can break it down into all these different sort of pockets, like music, art expression, instrument, production, DJing, b-boying, dancing, everything, right? So if you look at it that way, I think that's that's one simple way to describe what hip hop is. It's, rapping is something you do, right? So there's a KRS quote, a KRS-One quote. Rapping is what you do. Hip hop is what you live. So hip hop is a culture, right? So, for me, music is another thing within that culture that I do, right? So I'm a writer and I write raps, but I'm a beatboxer as well. So that's kind of how those two things are married. One of the things I did want to answer though, and go back to a little bit, Josh, is when you said, what does theater have to learn from hip hop? And one of the big things that I feel that is equivalent is this idea of resistance, which is what hip hop music sort of is bred out of, to not be confined to the norms of what society says things should be or the way they should be, or to always question, to be critical of your environment, of why things are the way they are. I think that's something that theater, hopefully through this process of a quarantine, has forced itself to have those conversations. And so I think this lends itself to that. My music is just, another part of one of the things that I do. I've been releasing music so to keep the sort of juices flowing for myself, but also just to, keep putting it out there creatively, so that I can get something back in terms of, collaborations with people, energy from folks, conversations, collaborations, all that stuff. So for me, it's just another way to stay alive during this time.
It's great.
If I may piggyback on Carlos, I think in my kind of personal journey in theater, like doing theater in the Bay Area for the past few years or so, I think I found myself kind of getting into this path that everyone kind of gets on, as far as as an actor, you go to the audition, you go to the other audition, you go to the other audition, you maybe get this show and then you don't get that show, and then you get this show and it's not really the show you wanted, but you do it anyway. And then weird things happen in the rehearsal room and you don't like it and no one really likes it. No one really talks about it. And then you finish the show and you're like, all right, next show, let's keep doing this thing. And I found myself kind of in that feedback loop, and something kind of exploring this part of my creative self did for me was it allowed me to, like kind of Carlos said, question all of that and think about all of that, because I think it's actually designed in such a way to make you not think about it. You just get into the grind and go and go and go and go. And, you put yourself second and you put yourself third and you put yourself last, and you put whatever this craft is, what you think this craft is, first. And as I started kind of finding my own voice, and I'm still finding my own voice in all of this, I started to find that like that other side of me, you know, I found what I wanted to do in all aspects of theater. I found what I wanted to do as a director. I found what I wanted to do as an actor, what I want to do as a writer and stuff like that. And it's really kind of, is being with this group has kind of broadened my horizons significantly.
I'm so glad that Carlos, you named, you know, hip hop is a culture, right? And it started as a counterculture, it started as a resistance. And there's a lot of sort of contested energy around what is hip hop theater. And so, you know, when I'm teaching on hip hop theater, you know, I start with the, you know, the 4 pillars of hip hop, you know, and DJ, MCing, the dance, the graffiti. And I know that over the years that has sort of broadened, but the biggest kind of takeaway that I always come back to is that it's theater that is made by, for, and about the hip hop generation. And I wonder, you know, because I'm really inspired by artists like Camilla Forbes and Mark Bamuthi Joseph and Will Powers and Idris Goodwin. But I wonder if, and I would say I hate to put you on the spot, but I don't. And I just wonder if you have opinions about, like, you know, when people, you know, want to do like an adaptation of Shakespeare and just like add beatboxing or is that hip hop theater, you know, like what the Q brothers do, which I enjoy, but I know there's a lot of energy around, like, is that hip hop theater? And certainly the 4 of you do not have to agree, but I would love to just hear what you think are like, what for you qualifies as hip hop theater in that aesthetic?
Well, for me, if I'm gonna be dogmatic, if I would just say, if it's not foundationally built in either one of the, you know, if it doesn't have a foundation, a root, so to speak, with each sort of, you know, if you're gonna rap, if it doesn't have something that has something really culturally driven, that's really about the culture of rap in some shape or form, if it's not going to be bred out of that, and the same thing with theater, if it's not going to, you know, it's that to me is the sort of the hardcore definition of what I think hip hop theater is. It's like any kind of genre bending, genre mixing thing that you do. I think if you sprinkle something, it's not the same as having something being structurally built into the show. You know, like, this is a part of the culture of how we speak. This is how we communicate. So that's going to be the vehicle through which this story is told. Okay, that's foundational. But it's different if it's like, oh, you know, everybody's just going to rap because we kind of don't have a show. It does, the script is kind of weak. If it doesn't have a strong, you know, theatrical, something binding it in the theatrical form that's strong, then it's also going to be not that to me. That's just that's the kind of dogmatic answer. But really, the real answer is it doesn't matter anymore. Like, that's the real answer. The real answer is that it's so wide open now that I feel welcome to, like, you know, having it be, you know, 50%, I mean, 30% this and 70% that. Like, it's okay to have a melting pot, a mixture. You know, I think everyone recognize like, always it's going to be that way. You'll know if it's something that hits and it feels right. And I think you said it right, Don. It's like, if it's built by, for, about people that resonate the most with hip hop culture. That's you know, that's my long short answer.
We're definitely well, I definitely have been inspired by that quote as well, and by those folks that you were talking about, Don, in terms of when I was trying to ask myself that very question, what is hip hop theater? You know, I mean, because we've been working on it, myself, Tommy Shepard, and then by extension Carlos and Keith Pinto and Gendel Hernandez. You know, through Felonious, we have been really exploring the art form since like '94, and so we had no idea what we were doing. We just loved this music, and this culture came from this culture, and connected it to this storytelling that we were exploring as students. And so how when we needed that guidance to like really ground us in something, that quote really gave us a structure to kind of play with, and within. But I agree with Carlos around the foundational piece, because I think hip hop as a culture, the tenet points of it, the underground nature of it versus the mainstream conversation that we grew up in, the selling out versus the keeping it real, the authenticity piece, the really having the elements as a tangible part of the story, that all of that stuff is really interesting and important. But when folks like Mark Bamuti Joseph, and even I saw this piece called Peaches by a group from Atlanta, and it was just it really opened up my mind that hip hop comes from the lineage of jazz and of blues and of a culture. And so that entire story can be explored within the world of hip hop, and the resistance piece and the fighting for freedom is definitely a part of it, as it's grown into a culture that has really inspired the world. So yeah, it's really a challenging question to ask, but I definitely don't think sprinkling it on top, and once you add the for-profit component into it, I think there's a lot more scrutiny that you can be put under when you're trying to make millions and millions of dollars off of an art form, and doing it in a way that maybe the founders of the culture and the culture itself doesn't approve of.
So you guys, when Bay Area Theatre Cypher first became a group, an organization, a collection of talented folks, the first thing I remember seeing from it was that video that was shot in the Cal Shakes rehearsal hall, where it seemed like you guys all got together and freestyled and tried out some things and had a camera there and edited together real nice and set that out. There was, there was Telltale Hearts at Aurora, a year ago, and then again in February of this past February. And then there's been various releases that you guys have done even during the quarantine time. Starting with, I believe, 8 Bars for the Reckoning, which is a very powerful indictment of the theater community and reckoning with what's been going on that Phil was talking about earlier. And then there was also the propositions, the 45 lies. You just have various things that you've put out. So is that? Well, can we listen to some? I want to get into 8 Bars for the Reckoning, because it's so important and so well done.
I hope Amanda queued up my clip.
Oh. 16 years old, young slave gave Jefferson fellatio. You could play the role, but you're a little too dark for a quadroon. You could be the best friend, though an equity contract is opportune. What? Don't you want it? Get the money, honey, stop the frontin'. Get your boot licking, brown nosing for your lunch. Ain't you hungry? Must be full of pride, should've swallowed. Call another nigga for her role by tomorrow. Should be grateful, thankful, licking up the plate though, basking in the white gaze. Got another email from the theater today, y'all. 3 years later.
You want to pacify?
You don't
have to listen to me.
You can just do it for us right now.
No.
I can do it for you. You want to pacify us? You want to master hide us?
Oh
No.
my God.
I requested Ryan because she wasn't going to be here on the show today, and she spits
Perfect.
fire.
Oh, so fire.
I'd delete it off,
So
Yeah.
tell us about this project and what the thinking is behind it.
How did it come to be? How did we start thinking about it?
Yeah, I think that, again, we're trying to create a space where, honestly, even though we're talking here, Phil and I, we want to create a space where as we do more, we move back, right? And we make more space and explore more conversations. And so this one really came from, I think you, Phil, just being like, look, this is going down.
Oh, I had just read the
on it,
they had just dropped the living document, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit, people are ready to talk. And I was like, I bet you there's some people in the Cypher who have something to say, and there were.
Yeah.
And it started with that video, and then we kind of put it out as a challenge, like a hashtag kind of social media challenge, is anyone gonna pick up on this? And people I never knew had bars ever came out and made videos. Matt Morishige, Sango Tajima, John Lewis, Alicia was part of the original kind of crew.
Shepard jumped on.
The original video, yeah. And then oh, and Tommy put something out too. Didn't really like take off in like the viral way that we kind of wanted it to take off, but I think it kind of surprised us with how many people had that like fire inside them and needed that kind of format to let it all out.
Yeah, and I think also confining us to 8 bars was a challenge to ourselves also. But you know, as we do more and more work, we realize that like the variance of the voice and you know is important. So if we want a lot of people to join us, and we have to move quickly through everyone, as opposed to giving like 16 bars, which the MCs want 16 bars more than they want 8 bars, you know, and so. That was a challenge.
The original video was like 24 each or something like that when we were first talking about it. We were like, that'll be fine. Then the video was like super long.
Yeah, it was like 7 or 8 minutes. And so we're also trying to think of like how could something like HowlRound or an American Theater have seen this and picked it up and retweeted it or reposted it or wrote an article about it, you know, and so we want, you know, people to not have to press that go to IGTV button on their phone, because you know things like that are important in terms of retaining people to watch the whole video versus like I don't want to press that button and move on to the next.
People don't like touching the IGTV button. They'll see the preview and they'll be like, that's enough.
Yeah, I'm cool.
We're gonna move on. So how can we get that same feeling, that same passion, that same message out in, you know, half the amount of time?
Keith made that beat and Carlos wrote the hook, which was also a great framework for us to work with, you know, and to put out, say like, okay, here's your 8 bars, you know, and here's the hook. Give us both your 8 bars and the hook.
Well, I love how that was so responsive to the current moment, right? And it was using this art form to further the conversation and to drive the conversation forward in a really powerful way. I just feel like that's so much what theater is trying to do a lot of the time, or what a lot of us are trying to do with theater. And just having an example of it that can be done, you know, even during the quarantine and from people from their homes, but like making real powerful art that that actually speaks to the present moment is just such a wonderful and special thing.
The only thing we're bummed about is that we never got your verse, Josh. We never
You're gonna be waiting a long time for that one.
I will say though, like I was thinking about it the other day, there's something really empowering because this video, we have another video that's coming. We all are working on stuff, but just me personally, the immediacy of writing a song or making a video that in our theatrical way, in our style, it is very gratifying because we can go from an idea to like a final product that we're sharing with an audience really quick, you know, which is kind of antithetical to the processes we move in building really great plays. And I understand why you need time and energy, and in a certain way I would love more time and energy, but it's also like a great muscle to build around how do you do these things and finish something and say something and it's complete and put it out into the world and then move on to the next thing. It's really gratifying, actually.
And you also did a project around the California propositions, helping people understand the propositions through rap. Can we play? We have, I think, one of these queued up as well. I'd love to talk about this
one. Okay. This one's kind of a doozy. A lot of context and a lot of contention. Back in the 90s, when CALI was battling crime, people were doing more time because many believed that our system of justice was falling behind. Forward to 2011, we determined that crowding in prisons was unconstitutional. Prop 47 was put on the ballot with hopes of providing solutions. Low-level theft and possession are now misdemeanors and no longer felonies, though there was heated contention that this would let dangerous people get off the hook with lighter sentencing. Prop 20 says criminal acts such as petty theft wobble depending on how much you stole, and it deals much harsher penalties out if you break your parole. 20 reclassifies crimes, making it harder for early release if you're doing some time. Now here's something on both sides to consider. People for 20 thinks reforms are amiss and making society heavy. It's a swing and a miss if we're going to make every crime just a slap on the wrist. Those who oppose want things to remain as they are, because if we roll back what's been done, we're just putting more behind bars. So, we leave it to you. What do you think we should do? Yeah.
Nice.
And yeah, how many of those did you all put out?
Great.
Three. Yeah.
Our friend Lance Gardner, friend of the podcast, friend of theater, and friend of everybody.
Aurora Theater Company board member.
Yeah. He reached out about those after he kind of got his job over at KQED. They were doing this event called Ballots and Brews, where they were kind of talking to various a lot of different artists actually in the Bay about providing kind of nonpartisan facts only information, like entertaining kind of information about the propositions this year. I think Killing My Lobster was one of them. I forgot some of the other people who were like involved in this, but like they did some sketches. They approached us about one. Dan, did they approach us about one proposition or
Two.
About two, and then we were like, can we have one more so we can get Ryan Nicole?
And for the record, Lance also requested Ryan.
Yeah. But yeah, and so we kind of the turnaround for that one was also pretty quick too.
Pretty quick.
We kind of dove into the ballot information, did a lot of research, and I think the hardest thing about that one was we had strong feelings about a lot of these propositions, and we couldn't really we couldn't bring the fire like that much because otherwise it would start leaning in one direction.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to find a way to, provide context and also like information for people, but also like, keep it in the pocket. And we came out with that.
I think you did a nice balance. Never has a man with his shirt tucked in.
I knew you were
so many hard bars.
The first thing Carlos said after like in that video was like, "That's pretty good. Like your pants were really high." And I was like, "That's comfortable for me, man."
I think it's amazing.
You're setting records.
I just love the bright sneaks in that one shot.
It was my birthday that day.
How was your birthday suit, bro?
I was wearing my birthday suit. Yeah, all day. I was like, might as well, since I'm in the birthday suit, make a music video.
Hey, Alicia, I'm coming to you next because you and I, as the only two female MCs on the call, are in the minority. Because yes, I too got class superlative best female rapper in the 6th grade.
Wow.
Ha ha ha.
Oh, wow.
But Alicia, Alicia, I just want to rap a taste, pun intended, about what that's like to know that like female MCs are still in the minority, despite the fact that Ryan Nicole is in such high demand, like the talent is clearly recognized. But I just, what's that experience like for you?
Well, I still very much, like I said earlier, I consider myself a baby rapper, so I'm still kind of figuring it out. So, but I do know that in a lot of hip hop music that has been released, women are designated to the people who sing the hook, or like listen to any Chance the Rapper song. It's everyone who sings the hook is a woman, and no one actually gets a chance to spit some rhymes. And I think I think that's a reckoning that's going to come much more slowly. Just with the history of not even in hip hop itself, but in this country and this society of where women are considered not as hardcore or not as like ready to play ball. And not allowed to play ball in many cases. I think that it's for me, it's finding the spaces in which I feel like I am given the freedom to learn and grow at the same level of, or at the same pace as a man next to me, and also biding my time and knowing where I really want to try to get myself somewhere. It's a little bit of choosing my battles and also patience. And I'm very blessed that this group of gentlemen always ask me if I'm down to come to the table, and that's a really special thing for me.
Well, we're gonna play a little clip of you, Alicia, from Telltale Hearts, as an excellent segue to talk about this upcoming iteration. So, Amanda,
because we're passing batons and soapboxes to stand on. Listen with anticipation. This nation will be led by the next generation. But in the meantime, we practice our patience. That's right. In the meantime, we practice our patience. Damn.
Yo. I wrote this on German soil, point of view of an American Jew, and my blood royal. My history is broken, but not as broken as those that get abused, innocent, stolen because of blood and oil, because religious questions, because of fear and hatred, because the mind.
This piece that I've always wanted to get on its feet and make it something more than just, something I would perform as a solo. How can I, get it to grow beyond that? And then, of course, my good friend Josh, ended up in a very fortunate position that I think he deserved and he has worked his butt off for. And so we basically kind of did our thing. We just kind of talked and said, how can we build something? I immediately thought about bringing in Dan and Phil. They had been working on the Bay Area Theatre Cypher. We Dan and I, obviously, we go back forever. We're friends and sort of co-artists on many projects. And so, it's just been a kind of a, how do we make this thing float? How do you showcase the form without letting it be drowned out by the hype around hip hop theater and rap theater. And so we really had to pay attention to what we were going to do each night. We paid attention to that set list. We crafted it, we changed it. And I think that was a big part of why I feel like we felt successful in that run at Aurora, both times that it happened.
I think also, yeah, I think also the format of the show is not just like a show for showcasing things that we've polished and like worked on and have rehearsed a lot, but also as
Right.
kind of an incubator for people to like test out ideas was a huge thing kind of early on when we were figuring it out. And when we were featured in the Chronicle, they talked about it. When they were talking about how like we don't see a lot of theater that's like kind of scrappy like this anymore, where it's kind of like you can kind of see the seams and it's okay. And we acknowledge that the seams are there and we acknowledge that the holes are there and say that we're working towards something. I think more often than not, I'll see a show where it is kind of scrappy, but they pretend it's not. So it ends up looking a little funny. And yeah, and I think there was something really freeing about just letting that be like, hey, we're going to have a segment where we just have music stands and pieces of paper that we literally finished writing on like an hour before call. And we're just going to do it in front of people live for the first time ever, because why not? And we're hoping to kind of like continue kind of bringing that energy into more stuff. Too.
I love the mix of types of performance in that show, how we would go from, you know, Edgar Allan Poe to Mulan to Icarus, and like just all these different classic stories, but then also, you know, really, raps that are addressing what's going on right now to your, you know, you had guests come in, Carlos. I mean, I always love seeing you and Tommy do the big beatbox performance battle, whatever we call it. And just that sense of variety and that sense of like, here's a whole bunch of things that we're gonna all mix together, and they're all cool in different ways, and they're all interesting in different ways, they're all theater in different ways, they're all hip hop in different ways, and share them in one evening that somehow manages to feel cohesive despite all the variety.
Yeah, I mean, I think to Phil's point, that's what we do on purpose, right? We try to demystify this idea of, you know, the classist kind of air about theater in general, right? Just this sort of formatted idea that you have to do it a certain way. So I just think that when you start with Phil's, the way Phil hosts the show, to the way we change the set list every night, to the way we incorporate the audience, I think that's what we try to do.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no fourth wall. I mean, that's the Cypher. The audience is the other part of the Cypher from us, you know. And if we continue, I mean, that's hip hop right there, you know. That's oral tradition. That's the way that this culture is. So it's like, how can we really engage it and uplift it and like utilize it to break down these structures of white supremacy that are built into the culture of theater in this country. You know, I trained as an actor, and we were told like if we couldn't act Shakespeare, we weren't good actors, you know, that kind of stuff. And so like for Alicia to be able to be like, I'm a baby MC, and then spit like a whole piece about Athena that's like still in flux, like that's exactly what we want the Cypher to be. Like that's what it is, and more voices like that, and more people, and more opportunities. Like that's as raw and as real and as honest as and as good as it can possibly be. Like, and so, I mean, that's the aesthetic that we worked with as we shifted everything to online. Because, I mean, we did for a while, I would say, you know, I think we did like 7 or 10 shows of Telltale Hearts online early on.
Yeah. When we were like in deep lockdown,
Yeah.
like just like. And I think we were also kind of like exploring kind of the theatrical aspects of like hip hop and stuff too, and bringing on guests like Frack and Versol and Hazel Rose and all these people who aren't like theater artists, you know, per se, but have a very theatrical approach to hip hop, and we wanted to kind of showcase that and continue to draw the parallels and the links and stuff.
I think so much of being an artist, any kind of artist, is the process, right? It's you spend more time on the process than you do on the product. And I think the thing that's really refreshing about the Cypher and this environment that we build together is that the process is actually loved and respected, as opposed to in acting school when they're like, oh well, you dropped a line and you're not doing it in the right rhythm of Shakespeare. It's it's a very different place to be in which it's like, I wrote this 5 minutes ago, like Phil said, and this is my first time saying it in front of people. Let's see what happens. And that to me is like the heart of what being an artist is developing things and knowing that things grow as you grow as an individual. And I feel like this is a space in which that is allowed, and it's really special.
I think also part of it grows from this idea that, like, watching Tommy and Carlos beatbox, all these years and trying and being like, you guys have to have like a play that's all beatbox. And they're like, yeah, but like we can't rehearse it. And I was like, but why? And he's like, because the audience is like, I would watch them in rehearsal and they'd be like, boom, boom, clack, clack, boom, boom. And I'm like, come on, do something. And then we would get into the show, and that pressure from the audience and the expectation and their beautiful voices and the ego in the best sense of it, like all of that into one like expressive moment of like, I'm going to do this. Like, that's where the magic comes from. So like how, the Telltale Hearts in a way holds that spirit and holds that idea that like we need the live performance aspect of it to really shape and really tell us what it is we're actually doing, so we can do it better the next time we get a chance to do it. It's like, so the process is the thing. It is a process,
But it allows the community, the audience, to be part of that process in a really powerful way. That I really, one of the things I love about theater is that and about Aurora, frankly, is that our artists are members of the same community as our audience, right? That we're all part of this community in the Bay Area. People who love ideas, people who love politics and social justice and culture and art, and and it's people participating in a community together, and artists have a key role to play in community, and so that feels the most tangible in a project like this. And Carlos, you're right. I was very lucky to get to be in this position, and then doubly lucky to be able to bring in folks like you into Aurora to do your work. I'm just so grateful for you all for doing this with us. It's really, really wonderful.
This is very hip hop. Just think about this storyline here, right? Everything's supposed to be built, like the idea that hip hop is based out of necessity, building with what you have. You have the space. I came to you. We talked. You provided the space. You provided the support. Everyone brought their art, their heart, their passion to the project. Then we performed, and the reason people feel a certain way in that room is because that's how it felt in those rooms when you're birthing something that you can't quite put your finger on what it is, but it's something. There's something to it. Some kind of magic is happening in a moment or throughout the show, and you could see it in people's eyes when they left those shows. We've done a lot of shows. We know how people look. So it was interesting to see that, right? So that to me feels like a real success, is that, that's what it's built out of, this idea that we can birth something in this little space that is special and unique to the people who were there. But they know that if they saw it again in a bigger platform, they would say, yes, it should be that. And I was there when it was not that yet. Right. So that's really a big part of hip hop culture too. This development, this idea of, developing live in front of people, raw.
I love that. If I can provide the space for that to happen, then I'm doing a good job.
That's your street cred card, bro. You just got your card. You just got your street cred.
Love it. I'll take it. So we should say that Telltale Hearts is happening on Saturday, November 28th at 7 p.m. That is the 2 days after Thanksgiving. And so we are all very distraught that we can't spend Thanksgiving with our families this year. It's so sad and yet so necessary. But at least on Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend, you can get together with your friends, your family, have a watch party, and tune in for these amazing artists coming together for Telltale Hearts one last time and wrapping up this iteration of the project before moving on to whatever comes next. Again, Saturday, November 28th at 7 p.m. It is included in your Aurora Theatre Company membership, or if you happen not to be an Aurora Theatre Company member, you can buy a ticket for $20. So please go to auroratheater.org and make your plans for watching Telltale Hearts. It is one night only. It is not going to be available for streaming afterwards. So just you're going to have to tune in that Saturday night, set that night aside, and join us for that.
And if you want to hear more from this group from Bay Area Theatre Cypher, our Cypher sessions back, because I checked them out. In particular, 40-year-old version, the Hamilton Conversations. Yeah. So does somebody want to very quickly just do a plug for Cypher sessions?
Absolutely. Every other Thursday on Twitch and on Facebook Live, we do Cypher sessions, freestyles, and conversations, which is mostly me having conversations and everyone else stunting on me.
That's a good format. That's entertainment right there.
Really great when we have those topics. It really it's really proved to be a great space for like multiple points of view to come together.
Yeah. What it really is a kind of a talk show almost. It's a more chill. It's less kind of format than Telltale Hearts, and we just kind of get together. We chat about kind of things that maybe have been going on in the world, that week or maybe that day or something like that. Or we'll pick a topic like we did the one show on 40-year-old version, and we did the other one on the Hamilton debate. Which is our most well-attended one, I think, too. People had feelings about Hamilton.
Yeah.
But that's every.
What's the handle? What's the handle?
It is at Bay Area Theatre Cypher, theater with an R-E, the fancy way.
Yeah, but we won't be there next Thursday, but the following Thursday we'll be back. First Thursday.
Great. Thank you.
And the topic will be Josh's lost mixtape. That's what
the bars.
Oh, it's been so great having you as we kind of approach the hour here. We better start winding down, but it's been so great to have you. And again, friends, this is going to be one night only. This final Telltale Hearts, one night only. You don't want to miss. Thank you for watching today. And remember that if you have questions, comments, concerns, you can always email us at connects@auroratheater.org. We are quickly approaching what will be our third season of Aurora Connects. And we will be introducing a slight format shift and a shift in date and time. So we'd love to get any thoughts you might have about the show and folks you'd love to see on the show or things you want to hear Josh and I discuss on the show.
And a reminder that memberships are available at auroratheater.org. You can also donate and help us reach our $100,000 goal for our Looking Forward campaign. And we like to give a shout out to another organization at the end of each episode, an organization that's doing good work in our community. So today we're talking about Black Girls Code. Their vision is to increase the number of women of color in the digital space by empowering girls of color ages 7 to 17 to become innovators in STEM fields, leaders in their communities, and builders of their own futures through exposure to computer science and technology. To provide African-American youth with the skills to occupy some of the 1.4 million computing job openings expected to be available in the US by 2020, and to train 1 million girls by 2040. They are at blackgirlscode.com, and we encourage you to check them out.
Great, thanks, Josh. Friends, we will not be here next week in observance of the holiday. So there will not be a new episode next week, but please do join us again the following Friday December 4th, where we will have a conversation on costume design with some friends of ours that have worked at Aurora in the past, Amy Bobeda and Ulysses Alcala, and plus more, we hope. So that's again on the 4th, same time, same YouTube channel.
And be sure to tune in on Saturday, November 28th, Thanksgiving Saturday at 7 p.m. for Telltale Hearts.
Thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for staying connected.